It's Chris Flewitt for 360 Worship Leader Online. I'm about to say a dirty word. Get ready, you might cover your ears. Here it is, requirement. Now it's not really a dirty word, but we treat it as a dirty word. Jesus talks about requirement in Luke 12 verse 48. From everyone who has been given much, much will be required or demanded. So today I want to talk to you about the word requirement. Sometimes we're afraid of the word demand. We're afraid of the word requirement. Maybe it's because we're dealing with volunteers in the church, and so we're not paying them anything. So we think we should just be happy that they show up, even if they show up 45 minutes late and not prepared. And if we put requirement on them, we might lose our volunteers, and then what will we do? Maybe we think sometimes we work in a church. Church is supposed to be about love. Man, Chris Flewitt, we should just love everyone. We shouldn't get on to people. We should hug them when they do wrong. Oh, you've come unprepared for worship team practice? That's okay. Let's just hug it out. We're the church. So, because of these reasons, I think we're afraid of requirement. Sometimes we just don't have the understanding of requirement. Maybe that's a good question. Maybe that's a good reason why we aren't requiring something of people. Here's something you should know. Jesus had no problem requiring. You have the rich young ruler. Jesus says, sell all you have if you want to follow me. You have another guy who wants to follow him, but he wants to bury his loved one. Jesus says, let the dead bury their dead. I require that you go with me now. Whoa, seems kind of harsh, Jesus, but he had no trouble requiring it. Jesus requires something of you, of me. He says, if you will follow after me, deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. He looks Nicodemus right in the eye and he says, you must be born again. Sounds like Jesus had no problem with requirement. Aren't you glad that the scripture doesn't just say, much will be required? That would be a heavy thing. Much will be required, God says, and lightning and thunder rings out, and it's this big, heavy, scary thing. But no, the first part of that scripture is from everyone who has been given much, much will be required. Have you been given much? Anytime you feel the requirement coming down on you, you ought to take a moment to think about what you've been given, because I guarantee you've been given a lot of great things. Here's the point of this whole scripture, really. To much is given. That same amount is going to be required of you. It's not to much is given, little is required. It's not to little is given, much is required. It's to much is given, much is required. We're living in the United States. We've been given much. Much should be required of us. You've been given information. You're going to be required for that information. You've been given talents and gifts. There's going to be a requirement to everything you've been given, and that can be heavy, but also that's just responsibility. Take responsibility. All right. Do not give without requirement. I did this because I've been worried about saying this sentence, because I almost think, wow, I might be espousing heresy, because it seems counterintuitive to everything I know to be true about the scripture. But when I look at Luke 12:48, I come up with this sentence. Do not give without requirement. So many times people come into the church and we've never seen them before, and they ask for a handout and we give it, and guess what? We never see them again. In some ways that's totally biblical, but in some ways that's totally not biblical in this sense, because you shouldn't just give without requiring something from those people. And I'm sure I'm going to get some flack on that. Go ahead. I welcome it. You leave plenty of comments for me, and we'll talk it out. But recently, I've started giving my time freely to give music instruction to people within the church and without our church. I want to help people. I've been given this, and I want to help people. The Bible also says you've been given freely. Now you've received. Now give freely. So I want to act that out. So I'm giving out my free time with musical instruction. I am requiring something from those people. I'm requiring that they show me that they're doing something with the information I'm giving them. And if they aren't going to show me that, what I require, I'm cutting them off. I'm not going to give anymore. And so they're going to make a video for me. They're going to show me what they're working on, and they're going to do it often. And I've got dates that I'm a taskmaster. I'm requiring that they be timely with them. If they aren't timely with them, I'm cutting them off, and I'm letting them know that. All right? I'm not going to give without requirement. When you give, you only have so many resources to give, man. Give and receive something from them. I think that's just really simple. Here's another point. Make your requirements known. If you have requirements, make them known. Make them known to their volunteers. Recently, we had a drummer show up, and he's brand new to the church, like one of his first times playing with us, and he shows up wearing shorts on a Sunday. He didn't know our requirement. We don't want people wearing shorts. We would like people dressing a little bit formal, not like suit and tie or anything, but we just prefer them not wear shorts. Here's the problem. We have made that it was an unwritten rule, and it was a spoken rule, but we only spoke it every so often. Mainly we only speak it when we have trouble with that unspoken rule. And churches do this all the time. That's not healthy. We need to change that. If that's really going to be a requirement, we need to make that known in leadership training. We need to have it written down somewhere. Make your requirements known. Too many times we don't do this. And that's kind of the importance of a membership class, right? You make these requirements known. A volunteer training, you make those requirements known, okay? Do not be afraid to require something from people, but do not make them be in trouble. Do not, correct them for something that's your fault. That was my fault. I didn't let that guy know that this was something that was a requirement. So he played that day. It was no big deal. I'm the only one that's talked about it. So there. But still, I'm going to work on that. Let's flip this whole thing. Let's turn it on its head for this last point. If you expect people to give, you need to know that they're going to require from you. People are going to give their time. People are going to give their heart. People are going to give their energy, their talents, their money. People are going to give, and you should know that they're going to require something of you. Do not let people show up to your rehearsal without you being ready. Require that of yourself, and they're going to require that of you, that you show up on time, that you show up with a good attitude, that you show up with good leadership, ready to lead them. If they're going to give, they're going to require that from you. All right? So, requirement. It's not a dirty word, so get over it. Use this word. Use this principle. Here's a question for you. What are you requiring from others? What are people requiring from you? And where has your breakdown been in the whole demand requirement situation? Talk to us about that. Let's get some talking going on over at www.360wlo.com. Once again, I'm Chris Fluitt. Thanks for taking the time to interact with me. I hope you have a great day. So you go get to work and make the kingdom of God move forward. Talk to you later.